Alrighty, good morning, my friends. Good afternoon, depending on where you happen to be watching from. My name's CJ Curry. It's the CJ Curry Show, and it's presented by PrizePicks. If you don't play on PrizePicks yet, it's a great time to sign up. A 100% instant deposit match awaits you. That's right. They're going dollar for dollar. Every dollar you put in up to $100, you're going to get an instant deposit match using promo code Curry. take advantage of the offer down in the description of today's video. I've left a link for you to get signed up and get started. Shout out to everybody who's in here today. We had a fantastic day yesterday in Patreon. Our Patreon's only $20 a month. It helps support the show. You get access to some of my picks, some of the other community picks. We've got a whole bunch of people in there, like-minded individuals playing on PrizePicks, playing different player props. So we had a good day. We went 4 for 4. We took the ones that we talked about yesterday, which was De'Aaron Fox over 1.5 3-point makes. That one cashed pretty easily. Another one that I put in there was DeAnthony Melton, who has been absolutely in fuego, on fire from beyond the arc. He got his 3-point prop in the first half at 2.5 3-point makes, so he ended up cashing for us. Bogdanovic first half PRA. Of course, that one's been a slam dunk. That one hit for us. And then I also had Killian Hayes going for more than 5 assists against the Denver Nuggets last night. So we went 4 for 4. We swept the board on picks that I posted to Patreon. We've been having winning nights, above 50-60% most nights. So it's a good time for all the Patreon members out there. Appreciate all your support. I saw a lot of people with picks that came out of this show yesterday that cashed. Shout out to Derek. Derek is here every day, man. During his lunch break, he tunes in and benefits. He gets some winning picks from the stuff that we talk about throughout these shows every day. So shout out to you. Roy's in the building. I see Roy leaving the little dab emoji. We've got James. James says he went 5 for 6 on his $20 flex. Joe Harris assist line killed me. I did not end up taking that one for what it's worth. But yeah, that one looked a little iffy, right? ZXR Skills says, yo, what's up, gang? Glad you're here. Happy that you're here. James says, here's my 6-pick flex. Was that from, that must have been from yesterday? Not today, right? Or is that from today? I can't tell. Let me know. Anthony went 5 for 6 last night. Kyrie decided to get 2 blocks and become all defense in the fourth. A lot of people went 5 for 6. Guys, if you're playing these 6-pick flex, that's fine. Play them. But if you're going 5 for 6, and you have 5 winning picks that you're not putting into any other entries, you're leaving money on the table. If you go 5 for 6, you have 5 winning picks. Why aren't you playing those in a 2-pick as well? Or in a 3-pick flex if you're not so confident, not so sure, not so certain, right? You could still flex it with 3 picks. But you should be putting those 5 or 6 picks into like 1 or 2 2-pick entries as well. Do like a little round robin. We talked about this the other day for a moment. But you're leaving money on the table by not playing these 5 or 6 picks entries in like a 2-pick or a 3-pick. You are leaving money on the table, unfortunately. So hopefully you've learned from your mistakes. You guys that are going 5 for 6, hopefully start putting those 5 or 6 picks into a couple of 2-pick or 3-pick entries as well. It's a lot easier to get 2 out of 2 right than it is 6 out of 6 right. Preach. Pimp Paul's in the building. Says Joe Harris is on the ban list. Let's see. Anthony says, I told everyone in Discord that the Durant taco was a trap. Took him under on fantasy. Yeah, we talked about that Durant taco. I mean, I still took it at the 23.5 point discount. You had to when you saw that he was 17 for 17 this season, covering at 23.5 points. I took it anyway. But I also said you guys should probably be taking Kevin Durant for under on his original point line, which I think was 27.5, which ended up hitting. So he stayed under the taco at 23.5, and he went under his original point line at 27.5. But we did talk about how this is a potential trap. Everybody for the Brooklyn Nets was pretty much healthy. You had Seth Curry, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, like all of these ball hogs and scorers were healthy for that game. We talked about the low total on that game. We talked about it turning into a potential blowout. So we called it pretty correct. Hopefully you guys went under on Kevin Durant's original point line and ended up cashing. Gutta 59 says KD is on the ban list with Kyrie Irving only with 2 assists. Yeah, that Kyrie Irving assist line did not look like one I wanted to run. I stayed away from that one as well. Running through the rest of the chat here. Shout out to everybody who's joining. Chris Raptor's in the building. Appreciate you being here. Everyday Fantasy says, what a do, fam. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and smash the likes for my guy. Yes, it is Thanksgiving Eve. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving if you're here in the United States. Big holiday, obviously. Day to get together. Day to tell somebody that you're grateful for them, that you're thankful to have them in your life, right? Show some appreciation, some gratitude. and hopefully eat some good food with some friends, some family, and loved ones. So yeah, definitely shout out to everybody who celebrates Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys all have some time off tomorrow where you could watch some football and get your grub on, right? Get your grub on. Derek says, what's up, CJ? No matter how the weather is across the country, no one is raining on my sunshine. Yeah, I saw you hit last night. He says, thanks again for all you do. You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the likes. Appreciate you spreading the word as well on Twitter. Appreciate all of that, man. Just really thankful for you guys. Anthony says he smashed the like button. I hope more of you do as well. Chris Day says I had a nice one. Plus 6,000 odds on a 5, paid $303. I hope everyone listened to my Royce O'Neal assist over. He has been crushing it. All right, we'll keep an eye on that one. No Limits in the building, as is Hayes. No Limit. He says, let's get it. He flexes. I got to flex back. Regina's back. Shout out to Regina. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Tyrone says, CJ and the gang, good morning. Let's keep it going and get this bread. Yeah, it wouldn't be Thanksgiving without a nice little bit of bread on the side, right? A nice little dinner roll, we'll call it. We'll try to get that dinner roll going for your Thanksgiving. RJ says Kyrie is banned until further notice. Yeah, he's still working his way back. He sat out for what, 5-6 games, something like that. So it's not time to jump on the Kyrie train just yet. I think they're trying to ease him back in after his multi-game suspension. Ray says, I always come through my break. Torrey Craig first half killed my 6-man. Yeah, Torrey Craig was an absolute failure. He was a bust, unfortunately. Jamani says he was on that Torrey Craig wagon as well. Jaman says, run up the likes. My man Jaman ended up hitting a free 2-pick to score $100. Guys, if you're not subscribed and you haven't liked yet, well, you probably want to, because I'm giving away a free 2-pick every time I go live. Every time I do one of these shows, I'm picking a winner out of the comment section. So once the replay goes up, you're going to go to the comment section. You're going to comment with your favorite pick of the day. Maybe it helps somebody else out. Maybe they see that favorite pick and they're like, oh, I like that one. I'm going to tail that one. But yeah, to get entered in to win one of these free entries that I give away every single day, all you have to do is be a subscriber, like the video, and then go to the comment section once the replay is posted on YouTube. Go to the comment section, comment with your favorite pick of the day. You're automatically entered to win. That's all you have to do. Easy peasy, and you can get yourself a 2-pick to win $100 on PrizePicks. J Full Metal K says 5 of 6. Trap Taco had to settle. KD, oof. Yeah. Make sure you're getting those 5 and 6 picks into smaller entries. I'm going to keep harping on that because you are leaving money on the table. If you feel so good that this could go 5 for 5 or 6 for 6, you should feel good that it'll go 2 for 2 as well, right? Or even 3 for 3. Have that same energy, that same confidence. Keep that same energy whenever you put 5 guys in a 5-pick or 6 guys in a 6-pick. Put them in a 2-pick. If you believe so much that they're going to go 5 for 5 and 6 for 6, you should be believing that they're going to go 2 for 2 as well, right? I mean, it's just, common sense in my opinion. But Denim says, we live, gang. Shout out to Denim. Got a lot of folks here today. Serdar says, I had some luck on my side last night. Hit a 6-piece. $20, man. Shout out to you. Big win. Lockpat says, how do you feel about KD not ever getting his taco yesterday? Yeah, I told you guys that I thought it was a bad pick. I wanted De'Aaron Fox. I actually voted for De'Aaron Fox live on the show with you guys yesterday. De'Aaron Fox was in the highest total game of the slate yesterday. Over 230 projected points between Memphis and Sacramento. Plus the spread was like, what, 2.5 points? I voted for De'Aaron Fox points. I thought that was the better game script. I didn't like the game script for Kevin Durant. Low scoring game. Looked like it was going to be a blowout. Although I didn't expect Brooklyn to be on the receiving end of the blowout, I thought it was going to be the other way. But yeah. The 80 taco ended up coming through for us, so at least that saved our night, right? Fear Shaolin with the super chat already hitting us with the 6-pick. He said he hit his second 6-pick yesterday. Patreon is up for real. Appreciate you being in the Patreon, man. All the support means a lot to me. Who else we got in here? We got ZXR Skills leaving the super chat. He says, happy American Thanksgiving. He's Canadian. He says, I hope you guys have a great time with friends and family. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, man. And if I missed anybody, nothing personal. There's a lot of you in here. I just want to say I'm thankful for all of you, and I appreciate everybody being here. So let's go ahead and get into today's game of the day. We're not doing Poeltl today. We're going to switch it up and do dribble. What is dribble? Well, how you play it is you have to connect two NBA players. Sometimes it's present NBA. Sometimes it's NBA players from the past. But you have to connect two NBA players together through 6 or fewer mutual teammates. So in this example, Steph Curry, LeBron James are the two players that they give us here. We have to connect Steph to LeBron. So the first guess was Kevin Durant, which is a valid guess since Kevin Durant played with Steph Curry, but he's never played with LeBron, obviously. So the game continues on. Guess number 2, in this example, they used Kevin Love. Kevin Love was an incorrect guess because he's never played with KD, although he has played with LeBron. Guess 3 was one that finally connected Steph Curry to LeBron James using a mutual player, which in this case was Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie played with Kevin Durant and played with LeBron James. So let's get into it. Let's see who today's players are. We got Tyrese Halliburton, current active player, spent some time with the Sacramento Kings, obviously. Now he's with the Indiana Pacers. And we got Fred VanVleet, who spent his whole career with the Toronto Raptors. So we're looking for a player that we can connect these two players with. Like, is there anybody who played for Sacramento when Tyrese Halliburton was there that's also spent time in Toronto with Fred VanVleet? Or is there anybody who's in Indiana currently with Tyrese Halliburton who's played with Fred VanVleet in Toronto at some point? What do you guys got? Juan Toscano Anderson? No, not Juan Toscano Anderson. I think Juan Toscano Anderson has only been with Golden State. I don't think he's ever played with Tyrese Halliburton. In Sacramento? No. In Indiana? No. No. I don't like that. Richaun Holmes? I don't think Richaun Holmes was ever a Toronto Raptor, though. Terrence Davis. Terrence Davis definitely was Sacramento. I don't know if Terrence Davis was ever with the Raptors, though. Harrison Barnes? Harrison Barnes definitely a Sacramento King, right, with Tyrese Halliburton. But never a Toronto Raptor, right? Now, that's the first thing. These players, in other words, some of these guys that you're guessing, they don't have to necessarily play with one another. My immediate first thought is like, I'm looking for a player who both of these guys have played with. But yeah, we could go with Harrison Barnes as like a first guess to kind of just get us a little bit closer, right? Harrison Barnes. So that's not a green guess, meaning we didn't get it right in one guess. But now we're looking for a player who has played with Harrison Barnes and Fred VanVleet. Harrison Barnes and Fred VanVleet. Terrence Davis played with both? Let's go with Terrence Davis. Am I spelling his name wrong? Davis. Anthony Davis. Antonio Davis. Terrence Davis? It's not coming up. Help me out with the spelling on his name. He must have a funny way of spelling his name. Terrence? I can't. Either that or he's just not in here. You guys are saying Terrance? Nope. Ferguson, Robertson. Either we're not spelling his name right or something's going on here. Terrence Davis is not in the database. 1R? Oh, Terence. All right. Well, that is definitely a different way to spell it. Bang. Bang, bang. You guys got it right. It actually is Terrence Davis. Wow. I don't remember him having a stint with the Toronto Raptors, but you guys are saying that he was the sixth man. So it's Terence. It helps to be able to spell these guys' names. But yeah, Terrence Davis, had we made him our first guess, we would have gotten there a lot quicker, huh, gang? But yeah, Terrence Davis is the right player. So we got there in two guesses. So it was not Harrison Barnes. It ended up being Terrence Davis. Terence. Store that in the useless information memory bank. All right, let's get into today's NBA slate now that we've got our brains warmed up. Shout out to everybody who guessed Terrence Davis. You were correct. We've got ourselves a 12-game NBA slate. It starts at 7 o'clock with the Portland Trail Blazers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Josh Hart, game time decision. No Damian Lillard. He's going to be out again tonight. Of course, the last time that Damian Lillard sat out, I immediately went to Anthony Simons' assists. He was at 5 assists. He ended up ending the game with exactly 5 assists. We'll see if they give us his assist prop tonight. On the Cleveland side of things, Dean Wade, game time decision. The big one's probably going to be Kevin Love, whose status is currently up in the air. He was a game time decision in the last game, but did end up playing in that one. Karis LeVert is out tonight. This game, very low total. I think it's the lowest total of the night at just 213.5, 8.5 point spread. So not only is it a low and slow type of game, but it's also an 8.5 point spread, meaning Cleveland could potentially blow the Portland Trail Blazers out at home. So that might be a good game to target some unders. I actually have one pick from that game that I want to take a look at. 7 p.m. tip-off also featuring the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Indiana Pacers. We've got Kyle Anderson, game time decision. Jordan McLaughlin, game time decision for Minnesota. On the Indiana side, Isaiah Jackson, game time decision. We've got Nembhard, a game time decision. Duarte and Tice both out still for the Indiana Pacers, but I love the total on this game, gang. 237 points. I've got a pick from the Indiana side. I'm going to let you guys probably guess who that is, but there's one from the Indiana side that I'm absolutely loving here in a 237 total game with just a 2-point spread. Love this. If you want to target some overs, this is probably a good game to target some overs from. 7 p.m. tip-off between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Charlotte Hornets, just 214.5. So this is probably like the second lowest total of the night, just 214.5 points. For the 76ers, they're going to be without their big three, Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey, all out again tonight. They were all out last night. I told you guys I took DeAnthony Melton over 2.5 3-point makes. He cashed for us in the first half, so he ended up getting the job done. With Embiid and Harden and Maxey out, listen, it's going to be Tobias Harris and it's going to be DeAnthony Melton holding things down. Shake Milton also involved, but those are your offensive weapons on the Philadelphia side. I don't like Melton quite as much tonight for his 3-point prop. Charlotte, actually a pretty good team when it comes to defending 3-point makes, so be careful going back to Melton tonight. But yes, Melton will have plenty of opportunities to shoot the basketball. Maybe you go with his points prop instead. He's hit his points prop in 2 of each of the last 2 games. Both of those games, Maxey was out. Embiid was out for one of those games, which was last night's game. So maybe you go back to Melton. But it is a low-scoring game, so I'm a little bit worried that the slow pace may not lead to very many overs hitting. So be selective. LaMelo Ball and Martin are both out for Charlotte. So it's going to be Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, and Mason Plumlee holding down the fort. Moving on to the 7:30 games. We got Sacramento at Atlanta. Another game with a sky-high total. This is a fun game to target as well. 241 points between these two teams is expected to be scored tonight. 5.5 point spread. I love this game. As far as taking overs, this is a great game to take some overs from. 241 points. I think it's the highest total of the night. 5.5 point spread. Sacramento is on a back-to-back. I think maybe that ends up hurting them a little bit. Maybe there's blowout potential here. They're on the road on a back-to-back versus Atlanta. We'll just have to see. Sometimes the Hawks don't always show up. So if the Hawks show up, take care of business, I could see them potentially giving the Sacramento Kings some problems. The other game at 7:30 is Dallas at Boston. Another one with a low total, under 220 points, just 218.5, 4.5 point spread. Keep an eye on Spencer Dinwiddie. If Spencer Dinwiddie is out, somebody's going to have to step in his place. But another one from the Boston Celtics side that's huge news is Jason Tatum, who is a game-time decision if Tatum is out. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, maybe some Malcolm Brogdon gets a bump, right? But this one, pretty low total, but does expect to kind of stay close and competitive, but stay on top of the Dinwiddie and Tatum news. 7:30 also offers us the Washington Wizards at the Miami Heat. Guys, look at the list of names for the Miami Heat. I mean, you want to talk about injury news? This is a team that I have just been avoiding more often than not because of all the injuries. Udonis Haslem, not a factor, but he's expected to play tonight. Max Strus is a factor. He's been starting recently for the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo looks like he's closer to playing than not playing, but currently sits at a game-time decision. Highsmith, who's been in the rotation due to all the injuries for the Miami Heat, he's expected to play tonight. But Dedmon, Harrow, Vincent, status all up in the air. Jimmy Butler is definitely out. Oladipo definitely out. Duncan Robinson definitely out. And Omer Yurtseven definitely out for the Miami Heat. So they got a long list of injuries. As far as the other side of this, Bradley Beal is a game time decision, Rui Hachimura a game time decision, and Monty Morris a game time decision. So they've got their own injury issues to worry about. Now, I said that those other games might be the lowest totals of the night. This one's at 210.5. This may take the cake. This may win the award for the lowest and slowest game of the night, just 210 points, but it is expected to stay competitive. 7:30 also brings us the Brooklyn Nets at the Toronto Raptors. This one's got a total of 221.5. Toronto is a 2.5-point favorite. Scotty Barnes currently a game time decision, but it looks like he's closer to playing than not playing tonight. They're still without Pascal Siakam, Prince Achiuwa, and Precious Achiuwa, excuse me. I don't know why I'm saying Princess. Otto Porter Jr. also out, but yeah, the Toronto Raptors front court still in shambles, so it'll be Thaddeus Young and hopefully Scotty Barnes starting in the front court. We saw Brooklyn last night. Obviously, the Kevin Durant taco did not end up working out. Brooklyn did not end up keeping the game competitive and close last night, unfortunately, so that led to our demise with that taco and that Kevin Durant prop. But yeah, Brooklyn full strength, so they're going to have Ben Simmons, KD, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving. So you guys may want to back off of playing any Brooklyn props tonight as they kind of gel and get comfortable with one another once again now that Kyrie's back, Ben's back, etc. Chicago at Milwaukee, 8 p.m. tip-off. There is a player from this game that I'm looking to take maybe some overs on who's had good historical success against his opponent, and we'll talk about that guy in just a moment. Big news here is Chris Middleton, game time decision. Middleton has yet to make his season debut. It might come tonight. His status is currently up in the air. GTD, game time decision. This total 222.5, 6.5 point spread. It favors the Milwaukee Bucks. All right. Moving down to some of these 8 o'clock games, we got New Orleans at San Antonio. As far as injuries go, nothing too crazy happening on either side. I guess the biggest one would be Jakob Poeltl for the San Antonio Spurs, who is currently a game time decision. So keep an eye on him. But this one's got a nice total, 230.5. A very nice, healthy total indeed. 7-point spread's going to favor the New Orleans Pelicans, so they expect New Orleans to win this game on the road in San Antonio. And if Poeltl doesn't play, well then, yeah, I think there's a case to be made that New Orleans will probably run away with this one. 8 p.m. tip-off between the Denver Nuggets and Oklahoma City Thunder. You saw SGA is the thumbnail player of the game. Well, he's going to be in another exciting game here. 232.5 points, which is the 3-point spread. We saw the Detroit Pistons give the Denver Nuggets problems yesterday. Big-time problems. As far as injuries go, no Pokusevski for the Oklahoma City Thunder or Mike Muscala. So they're going to be pretty thin in their front court, starting a small ball lineup with Lou Dort playing power forward with Robinson Earl manning the center position. It sounds like Jeff Green's going to be out for a while for the Denver Nuggets. We got Bones Highland, who is expected to play. Ish Smith expected to play. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray were a late addition to the starting lineup for the Denver Nuggets. They cleared health and safety protocols, ended up being upgraded to from doubtful to questionable and then probable. They ended up playing last night at the last minute. 9 p.m. tip-off between the Detroit Pistons and the Utah Jazz. It is a Bojan Bogdanovic revenge game. Bojan Bogdanovic, Bogdan's over in Atlanta. Bojan Bogdanovic revenge game. We've been taking some Bogdanovic first half PRA. Guess who's not on the board this morning? Bogdanovic first half PRA is not on the board. What they have given us is Bogdanovic for first half points. But I think with this game, I may just stick to first half only. It is at 11.5 point spread. They think Utah's going to blow Detroit out. It's 232.5 points. It's a really high total, but due to the blowout factor, I may just have to roll with Bogdanovic for more than 9.5 first half points. But yes, they have kept the first half PRA for Bogdanovic away from us today. But no Sadiq Bey, no Cade Cunningham, no Isaiah Stewart for Detroit. They're all going to be out tonight. No Mike Conley or Rudy Gay for the Utah Jazz. But yeah, Utah's expected to blow the brakes off of the Detroit Pistons. And then finally, our last game of the night, 10 p.m. tip-off. We got the Clippers and Golden State Warriors, 222.5 points. With a 9.5 point spread, we saw Golden State rest a lot of their veterans, a lot of their starters in the last game. It looks like all of those guys are expected to play tonight. Who isn't going to play Well, that comes from the Clippers side. No PG-13, no Luke Kennard, and no Kawhi Leonard tonight. So it's going to be Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Marcus Morris, and Ivica Zubac holding down the fort for the Los Angeles Clippers as they take on their interstate rivals, the Golden State Warriors. Appreciate the sub. Thank you for the new sub. I can't quite make out what your name is, but I appreciate you subbing. You got some funny characters in your name. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. Turn on notifications if you don't want to miss any of the content that I put out there. Let's get into today's picks. All right, I got a few lined up, and then we're going to take some questions from you guys. So I see you all are already talking about some of your favorite plays, favorite picks. We'll definitely talk about those. Let's get started here, though, with a couple that kind of caught my eye this morning. And I'm talking about this guy first and foremost, Tyrese Halliburton at 2.5 3-point makes. Now, Halliburton's going to be a very popular play today. Why is that? Well, we talked about the game that he's involved in versus Minnesota. 237-point total with just a 2-point spread. So, of course, some of the staples, some of the go-tos have been Halliburton for points. Halliburton for points and assists. Halliburton for points, rebounds, and assists. But one that often gets overlooked is his 3-point makes at 2.5. And I think today might be a day for us to go in on the 3-point makes. Let's take a look at it together. We're using props.cash for our player prop research. If you don't use props.cash yet, it is a great way to do your player prop research. All right, it's just $20 a month. If you've never used it before, your first month I can save you 25%. Use code Curry when you sign up, or just go to the description of the video down at the bottom. You'll see a link for you to sign up and start using props.cash for your player prop research. But let's go to the 3-point category first and foremost, and then we'll switch it up looking at the Indiana Pacers and the Minnesota Timberwolves game. Now we click in on Tyrese Halliburton's name. You can kind of get an idea, a feel for how often he hits this prop. 10 of 16, 63%. Not terrible, right? And if you look here, when he does go under, he usually bounces back in the next game and goes over. In other words, he doesn't have 2 games in a row where he stayed under 3-point makes. Started off the season with 3, falls down to 1, right? But then he comes back with 3 and 3. Then he falls down to 2, misses the 2.5. But then he comes back with 3 and 6, misses. Then he goes 3, 6, and 3, hits in the next 3 games. Then he misses, comes back and hits. Then he misses. Then he comes back and hits. And now he's missed in his last game, which means tonight can only mean one thing. There can only be one outcome, and that is him hitting at least 3 3-pointers tonight. All right. We know nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's a lock. Nothing is promised, right? But it looks like a really good spot for a guy who's shot at 3 or more, made three or more 3-point makes in 10 out of 16 games. Let's take a look at the splits as well. He's going to be playing at home tonight. At home, he's made a healthy 2.8 3-point makes. In his last 5 games, he's averaged 3 3-point makes. And you see his hit rate at home, 6 out of 9. 67% hit rate. So he's doing a pretty darn good job at home as well. Moving down here, we see the Minnesota Timberwolves. They rank 29th in 3-pointers allowed. So there's only one team in the NBA allowing more total threes to a player or a team than the Minnesota Timberwolves. They give up over 14 3-point makes per game. Now, as far as 3-point field goal percentage, they also rank very highly in that too, meaning they're giving up a high percentage on 3-pointers shot against them, almost 37% in fact, meaning there's only 7 teams that are giving up a higher 3-point field goal percentage than the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now we also want to take a look at Tyrese Halliburton's attempts. Is he actually getting shots? Yeah, he's getting plenty of 3-point attempts. If we scroll down here, what happened? There we go. I think I screwed something up. Uh-oh. Let me see. There we go. Boom. If we scroll down here and look at his 3-point attempts per game, started off the season between like 5 and 6 for his first 6 games. But ever since then, we've seen his 3-point attempts really start to skyrocket. 10, 8, 10, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8. He only shot 5 in the last game. So that was a little bit of a down game for him. But, I mean, you could see how many threes this guy's getting up per game. Between 8 and 10 in the majority of the games that he's played in his last like 7 or 8 games. Averaging 7.1 attempts for the season, 7.9 in his last 10, and 7.8 in his last 5. So he's definitely taking a lot of threes, especially here in the last 8 games or so. So we know that the matchup looks good, that the Minnesota Timberwolves are giving up a high amount of threes to opposing teams. What about to the point guard position? Well, we head on over here to our DVP chart provided by Fantasy Pros. This is free. You guys can go Google this and get access to it yourself. Minnesota's given up 3.4 3-point makes per game to point guards. That's the 5th most. There's only 4 teams giving up more 3-pointers on a per game basis than the Minnesota Timberwolves, all right? That's the Houston Rockets, Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors, and the New York Knicks. So yes, this is a good spot for Tyrese Halliburton overall. All right, and then last but not least, let's get you a projection because we like to look at the projections. We like to look at the sports books. So we'll punch in Halliburton's name. We've got him projected for 2.8 according to the Fantasy Labs, Action Labs projection tools. 2.8 closer to 3 than it is 2. So that makes us feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And then we scroll over a little bit. He's at 2.5 3-point makes on all the books today. Slight betting favorite to go under on some of these sites, though, surprisingly. So I don't know if these bettors on these sports books have been doing their homework and research like I have, but I think it's a good spot for us to take the over at 2.5. Guys, do you like this or not? Let me know in the chat, all right? If you don't like it, don't take it. Be responsible with your money. Just because I like it doesn't mean you have to take it. But I think my research and information and everything is leading me to want to take the over or more on Tyrese Halliburton at 2.5 3-point makes. So leave a thumbs up in the chat if you're liking this, if you're tailing it with me. If you're not, no problem. My feelings will not be hurt. Let's move on to our next pick. This one is maybe a little bit controversial, but I think historically this player has done really well against the Milwaukee Bucks. Really well with the Milwaukee Bucks, or against the Milwaukee Bucks. Nikola Vucevic at 27.5 PRA. Now, I want to take a look at some of the numbers here for Nikola Vucevic. So we'll go to the PRA category. We'll filter out all the games. We're just going to look at the Chicago-Milwaukee game. Click in on Vucevic, and you kind of see what he's done this season. 10 for 17, 59% hit rate. What about on the road? He's going to be playing on the road tonight. 4 for 7, 57% hit rate, averaging 29.4 points, rebounds, and assists per game. So this looks pretty good on surface level. The hit rates could be higher. You know, it'd make us feel a little bit better if the hit rates were a little bit higher, right? Now, he's done a pretty good job here in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. His last like 9 or 10 games, he's actually hit this in 6 out of 9. 6 out of his last 9. So that's not too shabby. That's like a 67% hit rate. Quick math. Scrolling down here, taking a look at the Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of red and yellow here. A lot of red and yellow. So why do I like this play? Well, I told you guys that Vucevic historically has done really well against the Milwaukee Bucks. So there's a number of different ways that he has done well historically. Now, going back to last season, we've got 9 games, a pretty healthy sample size. He's played Milwaukee 9 games last season. He hit the over against the Bucks in 7 out of 9. That's a 78% hit rate. And he hit it in every single game that he played at Milwaukee. He is a perfect 5 for 5 in Milwaukee against the Bucks. 33, 31, 44, 39, and 41 points, rebounds, and assists when playing in Milwaukee last season. 37.6 PRA per game average. That's 10 PRA higher than his line is today at 27.5. So yes, he's had very good success against the Milwaukee Bucks last season. Now, not just the PRA category at 78%, but he's also hit his points at 78%, 7 for 9. Kind of correlates with the PRA. In the same games that he's hit the PRA, he's hit the points against Milwaukee. Now, this was last season. Just reminding you folks, you go points and assists, 78% on points and assists. Points and rebounds, 78% on points and rebounds. So there's a few different ways that you could take Nikola Vucevic here. He just seems to have the Milwaukee Bucks number. Now, one other thing that you could do if you want to look at an individual matchup, you go over to StatMuse, you go Nikola Vucevic versus Brook Lopez. 17, 15, and 4. He had 28, 13, and 5 against Lopez. This is going back to the Orlando Magic days. 21, 14, and 6, 21, 8, and 4, 14, 7, and 2, 15, 17, and 5. So he's got Brook Lopez's number. It seems like Brook Lopez struggles against Nikola Vucevic for whatever reason. You could take this a little step further here. You could type in points plus rebounds plus assists logs. And then you get the fancy little graphs here, but he's at 27.5 PRA today. You can see he's went over in 2 out of 3 games. Chicago versus Milwaukee against Brook Lopez. Going back to the Orlando days against Milwaukee and Lopez, 46, 41, 33, 37, 37, 20, or 42, 35, 39, 35, 34, 32, 28, 42. I mean, so he's dominating against Brook Lopez. I'm just saying, all right? I'm throwing it out there. He's had good historical success. So what about the DVP? How are the Milwaukee Bucks doing against opposing centers this season? Well, let's go look at that. The reason I went PRA is because they're not giving up a ton of just points or just rebounds. It's going to be a collection of stats, right? If we go down and look at the points, they're giving up about 18.7 points per game. That's the 4th fewest. So on paper, the matchup looks tough for just the points alone. But I've shown you Vucevic, historically, good success against the Bucks, good success against Brook Lopez, right? So I'm not so worried about the ranking that much. But let's also look at the rebounds that the Milwaukee Bucks are giving up to centers. Over 15 rebounds allowed to the center position. So 18 points, 15 rebounds, and they're giving up about 3.3 assists per game. All right, so there's your PRA given up by the Bucks to centers. We know Vucevic has been doing pretty well. Now let's take a look at where he's at on the various sports books today. So we pump Vucevic's name into the search bar here. We take a look at the PRA. He is projected for 29.8, close to 30 PRA today, gang. Not only that, but at 27.5, he is a betting favorite on some of these sports books already. He's even as high as 28.5 on some of these other books like Parks, Bet Rivers, Rivers Resort, and Unibet. So the fact that we're getting him at a lower number at 27.5, they've got him at 28.5 on some of these other books, their lines makers think 28 to 29 points, rebounds, and assists is a possible outcome for Nikola Vucevic tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. So I think that looks pretty good. We're getting a point of value. He's done well against them historically. So I think it's worth a shot. Now, the last guy that I'm going to talk about is Darius Garland. And then I'll get to your questions and hopefully answer as many as I can. So if you've got questions, just hold your horses. We'll talk about those and address some of your pressing matters and issues and needs in just a moment. But I want to talk about Darius Garland at 9 assists. Now, we went over or taken more on our first 2 picks. But on this one, I think I want to go down. I want to go under. I want to go lower than 9 assists. And it could tie, it could push, that could happen. But in this case, with the game total being so low here at 213.5, with Cleveland as an 8.5 point favorite, more than likely going to blow Portland out, I think going under on Darius Garland at 9 assists makes the most sense. Let's go look at it together. So we go to the assist category. We go down and find the Cleveland-Portland game. This game will be played in Cleveland at home. Darius Garland this season, you can see how many times he's went for 10 or more assists, right? Because if he goes for 10 assists and we take the under, we're dead. We're dead meat. He's only gone over 9 assists with 10 or more in 2 games. And he hasn't done it in the last 7 games straight. He stayed at 9 or below in 7 games straight. Now, I went back and I looked at these 2 games where he had 12 assists, and we can look at them together. Let's do it now. Darius Garland, game logs this season. And I want you to take a look at the totals from the games in which he went for 12 assists, right? The first one was against Boston. The next one, he did it against the Clippers. Look at the total on this game. 227 combined points. We talked about the total on tonight's game being just 213. The total on this game was 227. Pretty high total compared to tonight's implied total of 213.5, right? Big difference there. The other game that he hit 12 assists in, this game was, 236 points? A 236 point total. So a lot more points were scored in both of the games that he went over in than tonight's game of 213.5. So it's going to be a low and slow pace game. 8.5 point spread. Now, why is the spread important on this particular prop? Well, let me show you why. In games in which the Cleveland Cavaliers have won by at least 10 points, He's hit 9 or fewer assists in 4 out of 4 games. So it could tie. He could end up with exactly 9 assists. But more often than not, he has gone under when the Cleveland Cavaliers blow out the opposition. He has gone under 9 assists in 3 of those games, but 9 or fewer in 4 out of 4. Averaging just 7.3 assists. So this is why I'm liking the under even more here. Another thing that we can look at is his home splits. When he plays at home, right? What happens when he plays at home? Well, he's hit 9 or fewer assists in 4 out of 5 games. So that's like an 80% hit rate. The last time he did it was against Boston, but of course, as we looked at, that game total was astronomical. So of course, with that many points being scored, there's going to be more possessions, more opportunities for him to drop a dime. But tonight's game does not look like that type of game. It looks like a lot slower paced, lower scoring game. So I think that this line at 9, I think I'm wanting to take the under here. Let's go take a look at the DVP, defense versus position. Darius Garland, point guard. Maybe Donovan Mitchell's the point guard. We'll look at both. As far as Portland goes, Portland giving up about 8.9 assists per game to point guards, meaning Darius Garland, if you consider him the point guard, would have to account for every single assist that the Portland Trail Blazers allow on a per game basis to the point guard position. Now, you and I both know that there's more than one point guard on this team, right? There's guys that come off the bench that play point guard. Darius Garland may not get every single assist that Portland gives up on a per game basis, right? What about shooting guards? Because him, Donovan Mitchell, point guard, shooting guard, we don't know, right? They're positionless. Both of those guys are combo guards. But Portland against shooting guards, 4.9 assists, a little bit under 5 assists, which puts them like down toward the bottom of the pack, right? They're not giving up a ton of assists per game to shooting guards. So I'm liking Darius Garland for less than 9 assists. Let's get a projection, and then we'll take some questions from you guys because I know you're chomping at the bit. You want answers, and hopefully I can help provide those. He's projected for 9.2 dimes tonight. He is playing a back-to-back tonight against Portland. All right, he's at 9.5 on some of these books. Some sites like DraftKings, slight betting favorite to go over. Some sites like FanDuel, a slight betting favorite to go under. In fact, most of the books where he's at 9.5, he is being bet under. I just think this is a good spot for us to take an under here, gang. So you've got yourself a little 3-piece that you can run. Tyrese Halliburton over 2.5 3-point makes. Nikola Vucevic over 27.5 PRA. And Darius Garland for less than 9 assists. I'm going to put 25 on this. I'm going to flex it. If Garland pushes and the other two hit, well, then we've unlocked a 3x payout. Basically, if Garland ties, it turns into a 2-pick power play. Meaning if the other two guys hit, we win 3 times our money. So I'm going to run this. If you want to run it, you're welcome to tail. If you don't want to run it, that's okay too. Do what you want to do with your money, all right? It is your money after all. All right, you guys are saying that Bojan Bogdanovic is on the board. Bogdanovic first half PRA is on the board. Let's go look at it. Because obviously it's been one that continues to hit. Now, I'm going to assume that they've probably bumped it up from the last game to this game, right? He can't be at 13.5 again. There's just no way. Is there? Is there a way? Let's go find out. Sure enough, I'll be darned. They kept my guy at 13.5. Why? Why would they do that? This is the safest way probably to play Bogdanovic or anybody from the Detroit-Utah game, because we talked about the blowout potential, right? There's huge blowout risk. Let's go down and look at it. Detroit-Utah, we love the total, 232.5. That's a big total, but what we don't like is the spread at 11.5. Utah appears to be in a good position to beat the brakes off of the Detroit Pistons tonight, who are undermanned without Saddiq Bey, without Cade Cunningham, and without Isaiah Stewart. Let me remind you guys, every single game that Cade Cunningham has sat out this season, Bogdanovic has hit his first half PRA. Every game that Saddiq Bey has sat out this season, Bogdanovic has hit his first half PRA. Every game that Isaiah Stewart has sat out this season, Bogdanovic has hit his first half PRA at 13.5. And we sprinkle in the fact that this is a revenge game. Got the revenge narrative, right? Bogdanovic last season and for multiple seasons played for the Utah Jazz. So you got that little revenge factor going on here too. But let's dig into this a little bit further. It's no secret that Bojan Bogdanovic has been the man, covering his first half points plus rebounds plus assists. But I like to give you guys a visual representation of just how darn good he's been, right? So he's played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 games. He's hit the over in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 out of 19 games. 15 out of 19. Very, very good hit rates. Now, I told you guys that he's perfect without Cade Cunningham, right? Let's look at that. So we got Bogdanovic without Cade Cunningham. He is a perfect 7 for 7 this season. 7 for 7. He dropped 22 first half PRA last night. I'm honestly flabbergasted that PrizePicks has allowed us to have this again. 7 for 7. And we also take a look at what he's done without Isaiah Stewart this season, right? We mentioned he's going to be out tonight. Perfect 4 for 4 in games without Isaiah Stewart. So he's 7 for 7 without Cade, 4 for 4 without Isaiah Stewart. What about without Saddiq Bey, who's also going to be sitting out sideline tonight? Well, we can look at that as well. Games without Saddiq Bey, he's a perfect 2 for 2. So my guy just keeps getting it done. All right. You just have to play it. Eventually, yes, the bubble will burst. Eventually, yes, he will probably fail us. He has failed before. He's not perfect for the entire season, guys. All right. But we're going to play it again tonight and hope for the very best. Now, another thing that you could do is you could look at his splits, his home and road splits. So we look at his first half PRA when he's on the road, because he's going to be on the road tonight in Utah. But it's really kind of like a pseudo home game for him, being that he spent so many years in Utah. I'm sure he's very comfortable playing on that court. But you can see what he's done on the road this season. He's hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 11. So very high hit rates. I think you just play it and you hope that the success continues for Bogdanovic, right? I mean, I don't see anything here as far as like on the road in a back-to-back where he's like failed. I mean, he's actually hit in back-to-back situations. So if you take a look at 10-21 and 10-22, right? 2 games in a row. He had 16 first half PRA and then came back the next night with 14. Another back-to-back situation on the road. He played on the 17th and the 18th of November, had 20 PRA, followed it up with 14 PRA the next night. So the back-to-back on the road situations do not seem to faze Bogdanovic. If anything, I don't know, maybe he's got jitters, maybe he's got nerves, but yeah, looks pretty darn good. What other ones are you guys wanting to play? I see that J Full A Metal K is liking Bogdanovic. He's saying it's an instant smash, a multi-play for me. Just don't have him in 100% of your entries tonight, because if he tanks, then he tanks all of those entries with you. But yeah, have him in a good amount of your entries, but not all of them. Neil is saying that SGA assists over. What about those? Are we liking SGA for more than his assist number? Probably. I mean, I think we like a lot of SGA props on just about any given night. I think people have taken the points more than anything. Let's just search for him here. That's going to be the quickest route. Again, if you guys have any like pressing matters, pressing needs, leave a super chat. Okay, in the chat window, if you're on the mobile app or if you're on desktop, in the live chat window, there's a little like $sign under there. You can click on that. You can leave a super chat. It helps support the show, helps support my content, and highlight your comment, and guarantees that I will see it and address it. All right, so you can use a super chat if you want to guarantee that I look into your question for you, because there's going to be some questions that I just can't get to, right? There's so many people, so many questions falling out here. I'm not going to be able to get to them all, but you're asking about SGA's assists at 6 assists. He is the thumbnail player of the day for a reason. He's in a good spot versus the Denver Nuggets. Now, I took Killian Hayes last night. Killian Hayes last night for more than 5 assists going up against the Denver Nuggets. And Killian Hayes, I think, finished the game. Last I looked, he had like 9 dimes. Now, why is SGA in play? Well, the Denver Nuggets are giving up 9.7 assists per game. That is the third highest to point guards. So yeah, he's probably in a really good spot tonight. He needs at least 6 to tie, 7 to go over, and they're giving up the third most assists per game to point guards. Now, one other thing that you can utilize to help with your player prop research is this NBA Advanced Stats page. It is totally free for you to access this. You go to NBA.com and you can go ahead and pull this information up for yourself. But we're going to look at the potential assists category and passes made category. So let's go ahead and find the Oklahoma City Thunder real quick. Hit get stats. And you can see who's leading the team in potential assists. It is none other than our guy here, SGA. 12 potential assists per game. Now, that's not a super high, astronomically high number, but it's him and Giddey who are leading the team in potential assists. SGA with 12, Giddey with 11 per game. Now, we talked about the passes made category as well. You got Giddey leading the team at 55.5 passes made. SGA's right behind him with 43.9. We'll call it 44 passes made per game. So these guys are like option 1 and option 2, or 1A and 1B, right? We can call them that. But yeah, SGA's done a pretty good job at 6 assists, so I think that he makes for a decent play. Let's go get a bigger sample size because PrizePicks only shows us the last 5. We want to see what he's done over the course of the season, and props.cash allows us to do that. So shout out to props.cash for making this information easily obtainable and available for us. So he's currently set to 6.5 on props.cash. Let's just bump him down to 5.5 because we want to see how many times he's went for 6 or better, right? 6 or better. He's 10 for 16, 63% at 6 or better. He has hit in 5 straight games, 6 or more in 5 straight games. So that's a 100% hit rate, right? It's interesting because he kind of goes through these phases or these lulls, right? So throw out that first game. He went for 5 games in a row at 6 or more. Then he goes for 5 games in a row under 6. Now he's on a 5-game streak of 6 or more once again. It's like being consistently inconsistent. I don't know. Maybe you call it that. Now he has played Denver 2 times already this season. We could look at those games and isolate those. He's played Denver back on October 22nd, had 7 dimes against them in that one. Played him again more recently, November 3rd, with 3 assists. So he's averaging exactly 5 assists per game in the 2 games in which he's played against Denver this season. Going back to last season, he was 1 for 3 against them. Had 12 in one game, but then 4 or 5 in the other. So he's kind of been up and down. We know it's a good matchup from a DVP standpoint. As far as how many assists they allow to opposing teams on a per game basis, over 26 assists allowed to opposition. That's the 23rd most. There's only 7 teams allowing more total assists per game than the Denver Nuggets. So the matchup looks pretty good. The total's 224. Not a bad total. 5.5 point spread. We saw the Detroit Pistons hang around with the... We saw the, why does it say Detroit, Denver? Yeah, we saw the Detroit Pistons hang around with the Denver Nuggets last night. So I'm thinking that the Oklahoma City Thunder can hang around with the Denver Nuggets as well. Anyway, let's get you a projection on this one for SGA. Got him projected for exactly 6 assists. He's at 6.5 on some books. Huge betting favorite to go under, -150 under 6.5. But he's also a big betting favorite at 5.5 to go over. So between 6.5 and 5.5 is 6 assists, which is exactly why PrizePicks has him at 6 assists. So there you go. But yeah, I'm probably not going to go there personally, but I could see it happening. I mean, like I said, Killian Hayes had like 9 dimes against them last night. So take that for what it's worth. I just wish his potential assists were a little bit higher. That's the only thing kind of keeping me off of it. Let's see here. We got a super chat. Appreciate you, Jaman, for the super chat. Patrick Williams over 14.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Now, is that his full game number? Is that his full game number or first half only? Let me look at that. That's probably a full game for him, right? Yeah, full game at 14.5 PRA. Here's one that I've been playing that continues to hit at a pretty good rate for me, and it's Patrick Williams, but Patrick Williams' first half fantasy score. If he's sitting at like 9.5 like he was the other day, oh, they bumped him up to 10.5. Those rascals. Of course they did. At 9.5, I liked it a little bit more. But he had hit in 4 out of his last 5 games at 9.5. 10.5 gets a little bit more uncomfortable, right? But let's look at the full game here for Patrick Williams, because that's your question. You want to know if the Patrick Williams full game PRA is an option or not. We've already talked about one Chicago Bull for his full game PRA, Nikola Vucevic. We've illustrated how historically he's had very good success both against the Bucks and against Brook Lopez, right? He's at 27.5 PRA full game. So I like Vucevic for more than 27.5 PRA. Now, I think for me, I'm more of a Patrick Williams fantasy scorer guy. Why is that? Well, Patrick Williams typically gets a healthy amount of blocks and steals. He's very good at getting his hands on the basketball. So he's 4 out of his last 5 on fantasy score, 3 out of his last 5 on PRA. So I think if you're going to play Patrick Williams, you probably would rather take his fantasy score just because he does give you the upside, the potential for racking up blocks and racking up steals. Let's take a look at his game logs real quick. Patrick Williams, FanDuel points logs this season. You can use StatMuse for your fantasy score research. Not every site has fantasy score research available, but he's at 20.5 full game fantasy score, right? Look at the hit rates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's 6 out of his last 7 on full game fantasy score. We go back a little bit further here. Let's just count all of them for the whole season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of his last 10, 11, 12. 9 for his last 12 on 20.5 full game fantasy score is not bad. That is not shabby. That's what, 75%? So for me, I think I would rather take his fantasy score. But you asked about PRA. Let's look at the PRA at 14.5. Let's see what's got the higher hit rate. 9 of his last 12. Let's see what he's done in that last 12 game span when it comes to PRA real quick. And again, you can use PropStatCash for PRA research. You could use StatMuse. In this case, I'm just going to look at StatMuse since I'm already here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lower hit rate on the PRA, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We talked about 12 games. He was 9 for his last 12 on the fantasy score. Well, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 12 on the PRA. So if you're going to take Patrick Williams, take the fantasy score for the full game. It's got the higher hit rate. He's got the blocks and steals upside. You look at some of these games here. He's got 1 steal, 1 steal, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 4 blocks, 1 block, 2 blocks, block, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 1 block, 3 steals in this game, 2 steals in that game. So he is a stocks machine, steals and blocks. And why those are so important when you're considering fantasy scores, you get 3 points for every steal and 3 points for every block. So he's been very good at getting steals and blocks. So if you're going to go any way on Patrick Williams, I'd say go the fantasy score way. Taking a look at the Milwaukee Bucks, he's the power forward. Let's see how many fantasy points per game that the Bucks are giving up to power forwards here. We go to down, all the way down to the bottom. They're giving up about 36.9 fantasy score. Now, that sounds like a lot. And for a guy who only needs 20.6 fantasy score, that probably is a lot. But as far as where they rank, they're giving up the least amount. They're giving up the first fewest fantasy score per game to power forwards. All right? So keep that in mind. Not a high-ranking team when it comes to fantasy points allowed to the power forward position. 48.8 is the most given up by Minnesota. 36.9, we'll call it 37, is the least given up. So a difference of about 12 fantasy score. He could do it, especially if he finds some steals, finds some blocks. Patrick Williams can absolutely get it done. Let's see. Do we have any historical information? Patrick Williams versus the Milwaukee Bucks. We could kind of look at that too, just to give you your money's worth here. I'm going to look at this in depth for you super chatters out there. You leave a super chat, I'm going to go into the weeds for you to help look at this prop, this question with as many different points of view and angles as we can. So Patrick Williams, FanDuel points versus Bucks logs. We can see how he's done historically against the Milwaukee Bucks. At 20.5 fantasy score, he's hitting 1, 2 out of 5. Now you may want to go first half only because his first half has a nice hit rate as well. He's at 10.5 first half. He's actually hit his first half in 1, 2, 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 on the first half. 1, 2 out of 5 on the full game. So maybe you go first half only. Patrick Williams, fantasy, first half only. Let's get you a projection. P. Will is projected for 20.2 fantasy scored today. 20.2, his full game's at 20.5. It's tight. It's close. Not much of an edge, right? Not much of a difference between what Fantasy Labs projection has him for and what PrizePicks projection is set at 20.5. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you out though. Yeah, we've already talked about Bojan Bogdanovic. I don't know if you guys can see on the screen here, but I've got him in here for more than 13.5 PRA. It's no secret. The cat's out of the bag. Bogdanovic, first half PRA is a good way to go. It's a good way to go. Neil is saying that Bogdanovic's first half fantasy is hit more. I don't know if that's true or not, but... Oh, you said the PRA is hit more than fantasy. Yeah, the PRA is hit more than fantasy. I think that is right. Nick V says, Kevin Huerter props plus a revenge game narrative. Broderick saying, what's going on? What's going on, Broderick? Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. But we got Locked Pat with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. He's asking about Darius Garland's points. And what about Scotty Barnes or Harrison Barnes? I think you're talking Harrison Barnes, right? Because he's been hitting that PRA at a high clip. Garland's points at 23.5. That is another way to play Garland. So those of you who are just now getting here, I've already taken Darius Garland for less than 9 assists. I like that, obviously. That's why I put it in my entry. But you could also go Garland for points, especially when he plays at home. The reason why I didn't is because the score, the total rather, of this game is quite low. It's quite low. But Darius Garland has been rocking this 23.5 points very easily most games. So let's start at the top, right? Let's go back to and revisit this game. The total of this game, just 213.5. Cleveland, 8.5 point favorite to win. At home versus Portland. So let's look at Darius Garland real quick. We'll go to the Portland-Cleveland game using props.cash. For the season, at 23.5 points, he is 6 for 11. But we've talked about this in previous shows. Where it gets really sweet for Darius Garland is when he plays at home. He loves playing at home, apparently. He is a perfect 5 for 5 playing in Cleveland, covering his 23.5 points. 29-51 against Minnesota, 41 against Charlotte, 25 and 26 against Atlanta in his last game. So yes, he is a perfect 5 for 5 playing at home, averaging 34.4 points per game. What happens this season in games in which Cleveland wins by 10? Let's just say hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, Cleveland does what Vegas expects them to do. They're 8.5 point favorites. Let's say they blow out Portland by 10 or more. He's 4 for 4. When Cleveland beats the other team by 10 or more points as well. 24, 41, 25, and 26. 3 of those 4 games were when he played at home as well. So we're expecting Cleveland could potentially blow out Portland. As somebody astutely mentioned, we can't really ever predict a blowout. We can't predict a blowout. I'm just going off of the information we have, right? Vegas has them as 8.5 point favorites. But yes, I think Darius Garland at home for points at 23.5 is also another way to play Darius Garland. I took the assists at 9. He's only went for 9 or fewer or 9 or more. Rather, he's only went for 10. He's only went for more than 9 in 2 games, I should say. There we go. 2 for 11, going over 9 assists. So I took him at 9 for less than 9 assists. And you can see what he's done at home at that number. 9 or fewer in, 4 out of 5 games, 80% hit rate. So I like some unders from this game just due to the potential blowout factor and the low total. But that's just the way I'm going. You mentioned liking Garland's points at 23.5. Surprisingly, they've been really good against point guards in limiting points. They're only giving up 20.8 points per game. I think a lot of that has to do with the pace that they play at. They play at a slower pace. But they give up the 4th fewest points per game to point guards at just 20.8. So it's not going to be an easy peasy matchup for Darius Garland. We also take a look at shooting guards, right? They give up 21.7 points per game to shooting guards, which is the 7th fewest. So point guard, shooting guards, not getting a ton of points against this Portland Trailblazer squad. But let me get you a projection on that to cap this off for you. I got him projected for 24.2 points. He is at 23.5 on pretty much all the sports books out there. Slight betting favorite to stay under 23.5. Again, low scoring game, low total game with a potential blowout. Makes me a little iffy taking overs on this game. So that's why I went under on his assist. I just feel like that may be the safer way to go. But you could go there for sure. Let's see, what else are you guys talking about here? I've got maybe like 1 or 2 more questions, unless you guys have like a Hail Mary super chat that you throw out there. But otherwise, we've reached 1 hour or so, which I try to keep these to about an hour if I can. You guys are mentioning Fox for threes. Listen, I was on this last night and he absolutely hit it against Memphis, but tonight against Atlanta, not going to be as easy of a matchup, especially if they stick DeJounte Murray on De'Aaron Fox. DeJounte Murray, a pretty darn good defender. You take a look at the point guard position, 3-pointers allowed to point guards. The Hawks are giving up the 3rd fewest on a per game basis to opposing point guards. Yes, 2.39 is higher than 1.5. But De'Aaron Fox isn't the only point guard on the Sacramento Kings, right? They got Davion Mitchell. So this isn't 3-point field goals allowed to the starting point guard. This is just all players who are point guards, right? That Atlanta has played against. So that's Fox and Mitchell. So 3rd fewest threes allowed on a per game basis. So I'm not on De'Aaron Fox tonight for his 3-point makes. It could hit. Anything could happen on any given night, right? But I'm not on this one tonight. I was on it last night because the matchup was good. I'm not on it tonight because the matchup doesn't look as good. He's projected for 1.5. He is a betting favorite to go over -130 and -140. I mean, based on sheer volume alone, maybe he gets there. He very well could. So, let's see. Best Giannis play? I've been taking a lot of Giannis unders lately. We got to wait for Chris Middleton news. Chris Middleton might end up making his debut tonight. If Chris Middleton plays, I don't know. That could shake things up. I might just take a back seat and not play any Milwaukee Bucks props if Giannis is joined by Chris Middleton tonight. So stay on top of the Milwaukee Bucks news. Yeah, we talked about the Bogdanovic first half PRA train extensively. Fred VanVleet, I see somebody's talking about Fred VanVleet. I did take a quick little peek at Fred VanVleet's first half points. It's not a bad look. If you go and look at kind of what he's done this season, first half points in games without Pascal Siakam, you might want to throw a little sprinkle action here on Fred VanVleet for more than 9.5 points going up against Brooklyn in a back-to-back for them. But he's hit, I think it's like 6 out of 6 without Pascal Siakam this season or something like that. So you could go Fred VanVleet for more than first half, 9.5 first half points. In fact, let's go ahead and build a first half only entry. So we like Fred VanVleet. Obviously, we like Bogdanovic. Where's he at? Bogdanovic, revenge game, has a super high hit rate at 13.5 first half PRA, and we need one more to throw in on this. I talked about potentially taking Patrick Williams. I think he's a worthwhile candidate. Darius Garland is another guy at 20.5 first half FanDuel points, fantasy score, whatever you want to call it. He's another guy that's been getting it done. Darius Garland, first half FanDuel points logs. He's at 20.5. Look at what he's done this season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of 11 at 20.5 first half fantasy score. So that could be another good way to go. Very high hit rate for him. While we're here, Fred VanVleet, first half points without Pascal Siakam logs. He's hit in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row without Pascal Siakam. 9 of his last 10 in which Siakam has sat out. So Fred VanVleet for more than 9.5 first half points. Looks like a good way to go too. So you could go Garland first half. Bogdanovic, obviously. Fred VanVleet's points look good. We talked about Patrick Williams. Where's he at? You got Clint Capella versus Sacramento. That could be interesting. Where is Pat? There he is. 10.5. So you could take maybe his fantasy score. He was at 9.5 last game. So that could be an option for you. What about Vucevic? We talked about liking some Vucevic. They got his fantasy score up. Nikola Vucevic, first half FanDuel points logs this season. We got Vucevic. He's hit 1, 2, 3 in a row. First half fantasy, 3 out of his last 5. We go back a little further. He hit 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's 7 out of his last 9, 7 out of his last 10, 8 out of his last 11. But he's hit the over on this number at a pretty high clip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 out of 14, 15, 16, 17. 13 out of 17? That's not bad. I can get on board some 13 out of 17. What about his first half FanDuel points logs versus the Bucks? He's hit the over in 4 out of his last 5 against Milwaukee. He did fall short with just 15 first half fantasy the last time they played Milwaukee, which was last season. Let's do include playoffs. I think they played each other in the playoffs, right? There we go. So including the playoffs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games played, right? 10 games, including the playoffs. He's hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 10. 8 out of his last 10 against Milwaukee on his first half fantasy at 16.5. I think I'm going to rock with that. I'm going to leave Garland out just because I don't like the total on that game. We know Vucevic versus Milwaukee. We talked about that pretty extensively. He's got a pretty good track record. So I'm liking these 3. Fred VanVleet for more than 9.5 points without Pascal Siakam. I think he's hitting every game. Siakam has sat out this season. Bogdanovic, no need to go into depth or detail about that. And then we got Vucevic for first half fantasy. He's hit out of 13 out of 17 games this season. He's hit in 8 out of his last 10 versus Milwaukee. I think I'm rocking with this. I'm going to go with this as a 3 pick. And I'm going to flex it. I just, like to play the long game. So I'm going to flex it. No need for me to get rich tonight. We get to do this every single day. So I don't need to power anything. We'll go ahead and flex it. But this is what I've got in. I've got 2 different entries. The first half only entry with Fred VanVleet, more than 9.5 points. Bogdanovic, more than 13.5 first half PRA. And Nikola Vucevic for more than 16.5 first half fantasy. And then I got a full game that I built, again, with my guy Vucevic at more than 27.5 PRA, Halliburton for more than 2.5 3-point makes, and Darius Garland for less than 9 assists. That's what I got in there. Jamon, appreciate the super chat. Looks like D'Angelo's coming through with a super chat as well. He's saying Dort first half PRA plus Miles Turner first half points. Looks good. Well, let's look at it. We got Lou Dort. Lou Dort. First half points plus rebounds plus assists logs. Appreciate the super chat, D'Angelo. Thank you. Thank you. Let's pull Lou Dort up here on this PrizePicks board real quick. He is at 10.5 first half PRA. Is the PRA the better move? Or should we be going fantasy? 13.5. You're saying taking the over at 10.5, but he's got a lot of unders here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out of his last 10, he's hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10. That's 60%. What about his fantasy points then? Let's look at those. They are at 13.5. He's hit that in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 10. Slightly higher hit rate on the first half fantasy score than the PRA. He'll get the occasional steal or the occasional block. So I think if you're going to go PRA versus fantasy on Dort, you want the one that hits at the higher hit rate, right? In this case, it would be his fantasy, first half, fantasy, slightly higher. And then you're asking about Miles Turner first half points. Let's look at that. Miles Turner in a high-scoring game going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's at 7.5 points. You're going purely points here on Miles Turner. I can't blame you, man. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Look at these charts, these logs, these bars. Miles Turner, you got more bars than Hershey. That was lame. It's freaking lame. Sorry, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of his last 11 games. 9 for 11 this season at covering 7.5 points. You got more bars than the local penitentiary, son. But yeah, Miles Turner's been doing the damn thing. 9 for 11, man, at 7.5 points. What about Minnesota's defense? Are we scared of Gobert? Are we scared of the big cat, Karl Anthony Towns? How many points are they allowing to centers? This could be a trap. They're giving up the third fewest amount of points per game to the center position. 17.3 points per game. Third fewest. Not an easy matchup. Is Gobert or Towns out tonight? No, doesn't look like it. Looks like Gobert's going to play. Looks like Karl Anthony Towns is in there. All right. Just warning you here. Warning you. Want to put you on game. Yes, he is 9 for 11, but no, the matchup tonight is not ideal. It is not easy. What has he done against, let's just say, against Rudy Gobert in his career? Miles Turner first half points versus Rudy Gobert logs. Now we have to keep in mind that Domantas Sabonis obviously spent a lot of time next to Miles Turner in Indiana, so that's going to definitely impact things. But for his career against Gobert, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games played against him. He's hit the over in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 10. Has he ever played Gobert without Sabonis? Well, that is a question that we might be able to answer. Without Sabonis versus Rudy Gobert logs. We're getting real crazy. We're getting real crazy now. No, it's not going to let me do without Sabonis. Without Sabonis versus the Utah Jazz. 2 games played? All right, maybe we got something here. Let's look at this. Was Rudy Gobert active in these games from 2017? We're going way back here, gang. Look, it's Monte Ellis. Shout out to Monte Ellis. No longer in the league. But yes, Rudy Gobert played in this game We're way back in 2017. Rudy Gobert was also in this game. So yes, he has 2 games all the way back in 2017 without Domantas Sabonis, in which he played against Rudy Gobert, had 6 and 3. We're really digging, all right? We are digging deep for this one. Just know that it is not an easy matchup for Miles Turner. So I would play Lou Dort's fantasy first half before I would play probably Miles Turner's points. That's just going right off the numbers. That's just the way it looks to me. All right. MF June says Kevin Huerter revenge game. I've seen some Kevin Huerter revenge being spoken of today. You guys are not going to let me leave here. You guys are going to keep super chatting until I pass out and die of starvation and exhaustion, aren't you? Is that the way this is going to go right before Thanksgiving break? Huh? Because you know, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. There's no NBA games tomorrow. And Friday, I'm probably listed as doubtful for Friday. So we're not going to see each other until Monday, gang. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. But yes, let's talk about Kevin Huerter. You guys are really, really on some Kevin Huerter tonight against the Hawks. It's Kevin Huerter revenge night against his former team. They still got him in his Atlanta Hawks jersey over on PrizePicks. But of course, now he is a Sacramento King. Which way do we want to play Kevin Huerter tonight? You guys are talking all this talk about Kevin Huerter, Red Velvet. Let me know. I mean, I'll stay here. As long as you guys keep super chatting, I guess I have to stay, right? Because then I'm in debt to you guys. So when you leave a super chat, I feel like I'm in debt to you guys and I have to pay my debts, which is looking at your super chat and doing, thorough research for your super chat. I want you guys to get the most bang for your buck, right? So if you guys keep super chatting me, I guess I'll have to stay here forever. I'll have to hook up like a catheter so that I can do my business, right? I'll have to have a catheter. I'll have to Uber Eats something. I got this big window in front of me. Maybe Uber Eats will come up to the window. I just pull the window up. They hand me my food through the window. And I can sit here and eat live on air with you guys. I got this guy across the street revving up this damn leaf blower. He's trying to interrupt our good time together. All right, anyway. What do we like about Kevin Huerter? There's a bunch of different ways to play Kevin Huerter today. We got his points. We got his PRA. We got his PR, his PA, his blocks and steals, his turnovers, his fantasy score. I think his PRA has been really good, though, right? PRA maybe first half, PRA full game. I mean, which way we want to go on Huerter? We could go first half only on him, too. I think that first half PRA's been hitting pretty nice. First half fantasy, maybe? Nah, not as good. All right, you're just being an asshole at this point. This guy must see me streaming or something. Man, get out of here. Blowing them leaves. No, there's leaves in this neighborhood. Trust me, we got oak trees where I'm staying at. So he's definitely out there doing the Lord's work with that leaf blower, earning that honest day's living, while we're here gambling like some degenerates on PrizePicks. Turnovers. You guys want to go turnovers for Kevin Huerter? Let's look at those. You're bringing up a interesting point. Let's go look at Kevin Huerter. I don't look at his turnovers a whole lot, but you guys are saying they've been hitting. I think we might have taken a little peek at that last game. All right, man. All right, you're being excessive with that leaf blower. You really got to chill, my dude. Don't make me go out there. Don't make me go out there, man. Let's look at these turnovers. Kevin Huerter turnovers. He has hit this in 6 straight games. My man has turned the ball over 6 straight games, 2 or more times. 8 for 16 this season, 50% hit rate. But his last 5 games, he's averaging 2.4 turnovers per game. I don't think I can get you a projection on the turnovers, unfortunately. But these are his game logs. Has not played Atlanta, right? So we don't know how he's going to do up against the Atlanta Hawks tonight. Let's go to the DVP though. We'll call Huerter the shooting guard, right? I think he's He's their shooting guard. We'll go to the turnover position, or turnover column rather. What about the Hawks? Are they turning the ball over a lot? 2.43. That actually ranks pretty low. So they're not causing or forcing a lot of turnovers to shooting guards. That puts them down toward the bottom of the list, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. So, I mean, it could hit. A lot of things could happen. But turnovers are one of those fluky type of things that are really hard to predict, really hard to project. So if we don't go turnovers, what other way do we want to go with Huerter? Let's look at the Hawks. They give up 7.2 rebounds per game to shooting guards, about 24 points per game, and about 5.1 assists. I think his PRA may not be a bad look. Or fantasy score. You see the fantasy points allowed per game. They're giving up the fourth most fantasy at 40, we'll call it 45 fantasy per game. So either that or possibly his PRA would be my way to go on Kevin Huerter. But he's hit the PRA in his last 5 games at a higher rate, 4 out of his last 5. Fantasy score was 3 out of 5. So let's look at that PRA real quick. We'll get you a projection on the PRA for Kevin Huerter. He is projected for 20.5 PRA. He's at 21.5 on PrizePicks, but he's a slight betting favorite to go under his PRA on every site, every book. What about the points? Just the points. 15.5. He's projected for 13.9 points. Jeez. Well, they're not very high on Kevin Huerter today. What about his fantasy score? Fantasy score, 25. Fantasy score, he is at 26.5 on PrizePicks. But yeah, I mean, revenge narrative, maybe he's just comes out and they give him the green light. Maybe it's not a Deer and Fox night. Maybe they try to force feed Kevin Huerter the basketball. But you guys are liking the turnovers, so if you like him to turn the ball over, maybe you want to stay away from the fantasy score because you lose a point for every turnover when you take the fantasy score. So just want to point that out there. But anyway, gang, I think that's going to be it, man. We are past 1:30. Normally I try to wrap these up around 1, so we've definitely put in extra work and overtime. Hopefully that leads to more wins for you guys. We'll go to my entries. I'll show you one more time. I took Fred VanVleet for more than 9.5 first half points, Bogdanovic for more than 13.5 PRA, Vucevic for more than 16.5 first half fantasy. So that's an all first half line. And then I took full game, Halliburton for more than 2.5 threes, Vucevic for more than 27.5 PRA, and Darius Garland for less than 9 assists. But yeah, that's it. That's what I got. I don't see Red Rifle up for threes, Mr. Chris Raptor. But if they add them, then yeah, that'd probably be a good look too. Anyways, good luck. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. We will see you again on Monday. I appreciate all the support. Don't give me any more super chats. I'm leaving. Peace the freak out. you.